Hello and welcome everyone, this is Trinity Storm and you are watching 5th part of What If Naruto Became Power Hungry. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to the channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
When Naruto returned to the rebel camp, he was met not with suspicion but with outright fear. Not that he blamed them. An entire village completely erased from the map was something only heard of in legend. He could tell that some of them were grateful, but the majority were too scared to do anything but flee or whisper about him after he passed. He ignored them as he continued walking towards the tent where he had spoken to Mei a few days before. When he entered, the guards didn't stop him, and as soon as he stepped inside, everyone turned to look at him with conflicted expressions, Mei being the first to snap out of it and speak. "Is that Yugura?" "Yugura has been dealt with," Naruto declared. Mei noted that he did not say he killed the cage but made no comments, so she looked in the direction of the village and said, "I thought you were being arrogant when you said the village would not survive. Did you bring all of your people?" "I did as a result of your warning." "What about the civilians?" "We got the majority out, but a few of the more ardent Yugura supporters refused to leave, and we didn't know you were coming. In war, casualties are unavoidable." "Sadly, yes, but most people survived, even if we have to rebuild. You should probably send someone to find any loyalist ninjas who have escaped." "I will, and I appreciate your assistance. I may have done it for selfish reasons, but I don't like watching people suffer unless they deserve it." He changed the subject because she smiled and nodded. "There were a few Konoha nin inside the village, if you will, ghosts from my past. I hope you won't tell them about me when they come asking." "Don't worry, I won't." "What about the scrolls?" "I had them retrieved, and we delivered them to your friend." "Thank you very much." She took a breather before speaking. "Kiri could use someone like you," he said, shaking his head. "While Kiri hasn't done anything personally against me, it still has the same problems as every other hidden village, and even if it didn't, I refuse to serve anyone but myself." "I see, that's a shame. You're still a hero here, and you'll always have a place in Kiri. I appreciate it, though your people seemed more fearful than glad." "I'm sorry for them, they." "Don't worry. I understand that having someone with this much power out in the world can be frightening." "Indeed, I'm glad you're putting it to good use," he said with a chuckle. "I'm using it for my own purposes. Just be thankful you chose to be my friend rather than my foe. Foes don't live long. So, speaking of adversaries, I got him, the one in charge of the Mizukage is dead." "Did you find out who it was?" "An Uchiha, allegedly killed during the Third Shinobi War, has been definitively killed." "Of course it was a Uchiha. That clan is known for producing the most powerful monsters in history." Ironically, he was going by Madara, though he was nowhere near the real one. "At the very least, it's all over, and we can finally have peace." "I'm not certain about that." "What exactly do you mean?" "What I'm doing will undoubtedly create ripples in the shinobi world. People in power tend to refuse to give it up, or even allow others to accumulate their own. So the fighting hasn't stopped yet. It won't be done soon, if at all, but you can rest assured that the other nations will be too preoccupied with dealing with me to worry about Kiri, and that as long as you don't try to go against me, you have nothing to fear from me." "I see," she said cautiously. "Anyway, I have to leave." "Are you leaving already?" "By killing the man behind the Mizukage, I created an opportunity to kill the greatest threat to my plans in one fell swoop, not to mention I don't want to be here when the Konoha shinobi arrive. I can take them but it's a pointless battle and one I'd rather not get you and your forces involved in." "I see, in that case, I wish you luck and success in your endeavors." "Thank you very much." Base of Orochimaru. Naruto and Karen had quickly left the rebel camp and returned to Orochimaru's base. He was relieved Karen didn't have any problems in the rebel camp. Mei's warnings seemed to have been effective, and the fact that Kiri was destroyed by her companion ensured that nobody would be suicidal enough to mess with her. While Naruto was no Fuinjutsu prodigy, he saw some pretty advanced stuff in the Uzumaki scrolls that would be very useful for Karen's training in the art. They left the camp quickly, determined to get as far away from the Konoha team as possible. Karen certainly didn't complain that Naruto carried her so they could move faster. Soon, they were out of the land of water and on their way to Orochimaru's base. The rest of the trip was quiet, they didn't run into anyone, and if Naruto hadn't been on a time crunch and could have taken the Akatsuki out all at once, they would have enjoyed the trip more. Not that they didn't. Karen spent all of her rest time near Naruto and he had to admit he enjoyed her company. They didn't have much time together after their kiss and he liked to relax near her during their breaks. He found it hilarious when she came to him all shy wanting another kiss. She got it, and this time it wasn't the quick one she had previously but a proper kiss instead. Soon after, they returned to the base and were greeted by Orochimaru and Sasuke. It turned out that news of the battle had already reached them, and Sasuke began bugging Naruto for training tips, much to Orochimaru's chagrin. The blonde was speaking with Orochimaru as the operation table was being prepared to transplant Obito's Sharingan into Naruto. That was certainly an interesting journey, Naruto-kun. I can't say I didn't enjoy it, despite the fact that I didn't expect her to be there. Oh, how are you going to deal with her? For the time being, nothing. If everything goes as planned, she shouldn't matter. Alright. Now you wanted to talk to me about something. I did, but can you make artificial bodies? I can. Why don't you make them your hosts? Their DNA is unstable, they have a short lifespan, and they can't withstand the strain of most of my jutsu. Naruto said with a smirk. What if we could create a body for you that doesn't have these issues? What do you have in mind? Orochimaru asked, all amusement gone from his voice. Naruto said as he lifted the Zetsu arm he had received from Obito. These are Zetsu cells, which are similar to Hashirama cells but much purer. What exactly do you mean by purer? Aside from their ancient history, they're much more resilient than Hashirama cells, have a stronger healing factor, are very adaptable to almost any body structure, massively increase your chakra reserves, and the best part. They come with a wood release as powerful as Hashirama's. Wow. That's incredible. If I could use it on my body, I could use any of my techniques, I could use Sage Mode, I could. Do you have a body that accepts you? How come you're telling me this? You can have them. You've helped me greatly, and I reward those who help. Plus, you're a slick jerk, and it's better to have you on my side than against me. Orochimaru wasted no time in summoning Kabuto and instructing him to begin the process of cloning the Zetsu arm in order to generate enough matter to create bodies, after which Naruto moved to the table where Kabuto and Karen would implant the Sharingan into him. He knew Orochimaru was tempted to steal the eye and kill him, so he laid down and let Karen begin the process, glad he didn't have to do it in the field and could instead do it in a proper medical facility. After 3 days, the Akatsuki had gathered in their headquarters in AIM. The death of Shukaku's host had significantly delayed the plan because they needed to start sealing the tailed beasts in order to move, and they were ordered to remain ready to move as soon as the Ichibi reformed. Though they hadn't received confirmation, they all assumed it had something to do with the mysterious golden ninja who had killed the Mizukage and with him the Sanbi, which had come as a surprise to many people and news spread quickly. One of the 5 great nations disappearing from the map got people talking. A lot of important people, mostly nobles and high-ranking members of the other villages, were all trying to figure out who this shinobi is, but aside from reports of a blonde child appearing in the rebel camp shortly after, nobody knew who it could be, and the idea that a child could be capable of such power scared a lot of people. Nobody dared to attack them, not only because they remembered the Third War, but also because they didn't know how he did it. When Kiri was suddenly erased from the map in the Mizukage, a perfect Jinchuriki in his own right, was killed. The rumors seemed to grow by the day, and every leader was wary of this sudden change that no one knew what was causing. The members of the Akatsuki were obviously aware of this. They could all tell that this meeting was to discuss how this would affect the organization's future and plans, and while they normally met via projection jutsu, there were occasions when they were summoned in person. Inside the tower, the entire organization gathered, and their leader appeared. As I'm sure you're all aware, both the Ichibi and the Sanbi were recently killed, Pain began. And right as we were about to move on Yagura as well, Kisame grumbled. This will cause a delay in our plans because we need to seal the tailed beasts in order, so for the next few years until they reform, we will be going underground and focusing on gathering intelligence so that when they do appear, we won't waste any more time. Does this mean we'll keep doing missions to raise money? Kakuzu wondered. We will, but our primary focus will be on the Jinchuriki. I'll keep looking into them, Sasori replied. Alright. Now that we know who killed the Sanbi, we have reason to believe it was the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. Didn't he drop off the map after releasing it on Konoha? Deidara inquired. We had difficulty tracking him, but he was spotted in Kiri, and we were able to track him back to his hideout. It's a shame none of you will survive to use the information, a voice said before they noticed a swirling portal in the room's entrance. Naruto emerged from it, his new Mangekyo Sharingan spinning wildly while his normal eye held the bar-like iris of Sage Mode, grinning at the gathered group. So, this is the Akatsuki, and I must say, you don't appear nearly as intimidating as I had been led to believe. You must be either very brave or very stupid to come here alone, kid, Kisame joked. I was really bummed I couldn't fight you last time, Naruto smirked. That will have to be changed. I'm looking forward to it, said the fisherman. This is the brat, he doesn't appear to be too tough. I bet he's no match for my art, Deidara said. Deidara, we're kindred spirits, both united by our love of explosions. Too bad I'm going to have to turn you into one. I'm blowing you to hell and back, brat. You're going to make a huge sacrifice for Jashin-sama, Hidan predicted. Naruto stared at him for a moment before turning to Kakuzu and saying. He knows the only reason he's even here is because you needed a partner and you can't kill him, right? I don't think he's intelligent enough to realize that, Kakuzu replied. Hey. Then Naruto turned to Itachi and said. Fuck off, Itachi, no matter how much I want to kill you, you're Sasuke's kill, not mine. You're not going to make it a second time, Naruto-kun. He turned to look at Pain and said. You do realize he's a spy, don't you? The whole massacre was ordered by Konoha, and he's feeding them your information. Pain didn't respond. Instead he kept silently staring at Naruto, and when he noticed this, he turned to Konan and said. And you're an unfortunate one, aren't you? One of your boyfriend options is a skeletal wheelchair-bound maniac who uses the corpse of the other as a puppet, which is a shame really, because you're kinda cute in a delicate but deadly sort of way. She scowled at him but said nothing, and he was about to continue when Pain yelled. Enough. The entire room seemed to shake, but this only made Naruto laugh. You will be captured, and the beast within you will be used to cause pain throughout the world. How do you intend to do that? Do not test me, boy, I am a god. The grin vanished, and Naruto spat back at him. In this world, Nagato, there is only room for one god, and I will not tolerate any pretenders who get in my way. He ignored Nagato and Konan's surprise and charged them. Kisame jumped in the way and swung his sword at the blonde. Naruto made no move to dodge, and Samahada passed through the blonde, who didn't waste the opportunity and hit the shark man with enough force to propel him out the side of the building and into another. A fireball flew towards Naruto, but he simply let it pass through him while making hand seals. Sage Art. Dragon's Breath Fire Style. Before Naruto moved to capitalize on the opening, a hail of poisoned senbon fell on him, which he easily dodged, and the few that found their target couldn't touch him. Senbon? Really? Who was the moron who thought you'd be a good addition to a group for hunting Jinchuriki Sasori? We're immune to poison, you moron. The Biju within us purges it before it has any effect. Hidan charged in with his scythe, and Naruto let the blow pass through him before using his superior strength to disarm the Jushinist and ram the weapon in his stomach. A bolt of lightning flew at him, but he jumped through the attack and came down with an axe kick that forced Kakuzu to harden his arms and block. The ground cracked, and Naruto let his leg phase through Kakuzu's arms before kicking him in the stomach. He walked through hand seals before yelling. Water Dragon. Sage Art, Water Style. The dragon flew towards the Diva Path before the Preta Path got in front of it and absorbed the jutsu. He was about to attack again when a small white butterfly flew towards him. He immediately recognized it and began forming hand seals just as it exploded. Sage Art. Thunderstream Storm Style. The natural durability of Sage Mode tanked the first explosion, and his jutsu disabled the rest of the bombs before hitting Deidara dead on and sending him flying back. A hail of paper shuriken flew at him and he just let them pass through him, but Kisame came flying back and swung at him again before he could counter. He decided to match the fishman, and with a quick use of chakra, he was holding a blade made of earth covered in wind chakra. The swords clashed, and Samahata quickly ate the other blade's chakra. But just as it was about to make contact with Naruto, his blade suddenly reformed inside Kisame's guard, leaving a cut on his chest. They jumped back, and Naruto had a feeling in the back of his mind before laughing and saying, "Your genjutsu doesn't work on me, Itachi, because I not only have a Mangekyo Sharingan, but I'm also a perfect Jinchuriki." Pain yelled, "Shinra Tensai!" as Naruto was blown through the wall. Before shouting, he flipped midair and sped through hand seals. Inferno Style. Hellfire Ball, by Sage Art. He shot the ball of orange flames and couldn't help but feel excited when it hit the tower he had just flown from and set it ablaze despite the rain all around. He rolled when he hit the ground and looked up with a smirk as the Akatsuki members positioned themselves on the rooftops around him. "You know, I'm kind of sad I have to kill you because this is just too much fun." "Shut up, brat," Hidan yelled as he dashed towards Naruto with his scythe in hand. "Play nice," Naruto said condescendingly as he deflected the swing before punching Hidan in the face with enough force to knock him back. "The big boys are speaking up." Conan fired a hail of paper shuriken at him, and he countered with hand seals. Inferno Style. Majestic Destroyer Flame, by Sage Art. The wave of white-hot flames easily burned through the paper constructs, but before it could reach Conan, the Preta Path got in the way. Naruto was unfazed by this and delivered a vicious punch to the Preta Path and a kick to Conan before the Asura Path shot a laser that forced him back. A massive wave of combined fire and wind came from Kakuzu just as he touched the ground. He jumped over it, but Deidara's bombs were waiting for him. He phased through the explosions and the subsequent fireball from Itachi. "That's all you can do?" Even Madara proved to be a greater challenge, and that masked idiot wasn't even the real Madara. Naruto laughed. Sasori's tail sprung forward from the ground, intent on impaling the blonde. However, Sage Mode's increased sensory capability was no joke, and Naruto easily sidestepped it before grabbing the tail and pulling, dragging the puppet with it. He jumped into the air before smashing the poupette on the ground hard, shattering the Hirako shell and revealing the true Sasori. Shuriken flew towards him, and he moved to dodge them, but there were more hidden in their shadows, and he was forced to phase through them. "Nice trick, Itachi. Care to see mine?" Before using the jutsu, he threw a few wind-enhanced shuriken at Itachi. Shuriken Shadow Clone, by Sage Art. The shuriken multiplied exponentially, becoming thousands of extremely sharp projectiles flying rapidly towards the Uchiha. Itachi was hit by them before vanishing in a cloud of smoke. Naruto immediately spotted the new Itachi and dashed towards him. He saw Itachi's eyes morph into the Mangekyo before the Uchiha said, "Amaterasu." Naruto was about to continue when he felt a force pull him away. He saw the Diva path pulling him closer while the Preta path prepared to grab him and drain his chakra. He rushed through the Preta path before kicking him in the back. He moved to punch the Diva path but was hit by a wave of force and thrown back. He saw Hidan rushing him again and said, "Can't you come up with something else to do? I'm going to kill you, brat." Naruto allowed the scythe to pass through him before inserting a lightning-covered hand into the immortal's chest and blowing a hole in it. "If you think that will deter me, then..." "Shut up," Naruto said before grabbing Hidan's spine and ripping it out, taking his head with it. Before his body could even hit the ground, Hidan's head was sucked into the Kamui dimension, never to be seen again. "I like you, kid," Kakuzu said, his voice slightly husky. He just wouldn't stop talking. "I don't like people who talk big but don't have the power to back it up." The ground around Naruto exploded, and he jumped into the air to avoid it. A fireball and a bolt of pressurized water came from Itachi and Kakuzu, and he let both attacks pass through him, creating a cloud of mist that blocked his visibility. It was thanks to his Sharingan's ability to see chakra that he could see the small explosives Deidara was sending towards him, and he sent his own fireball at them, causing a chain of. When the summon rushed towards him and he jumped on top of it, he heard Kisame yell, "Water Shark Bomb! Water style!" He used his incredible strength to pull one of the dog's heads into the path of the attack, destroying it and causing two more to appear in its place. Naruto then jumped off the dog and flew towards Kisame, who used Samahata to block Naruto's punch but was still sent skidding back. The bomber threw more bombs at Naruto, who countered by using the Shuriken Shadow Clone to shoot the bombs out of the air. When the dog came charging in, Naruto had an idea. He created a dozen shadow clones who all phased into the dog before blowing it up from the inside out. "That's lovely," Deidara said. "Isn't it?" Naruto asked. "Now I'm sorry we have to capture you. If we were friends, we could have made so many explosions. It's unfortunate, but that's just how life is." Deidara's dragon began to spit bombs at Naruto, who rushed Kakuzu with Chidori in hand, unfazed by the explosions. The undead bounty hunter unleashed a wave of electrified water on Naruto, but he only passed through it before punching a hole through one of Kakuzu's hearts. He jumped back, and Kakuzu said, "Now I'm going to have to replace that, and just as I was growing fond of you. How daring of you to think you'll live long enough to get another one. Don't dismiss me, kid, I fought the Shodai Hokage." "Okay. First of all, Hashirama was known to be merciful, so the fact that you're still alive is because he let you, and second, being manhandled effortlessly isn't much a feat to brag about. Do you have no respect for your elders? I don't see why I should respect soon-to-be corpses, do I?" Kakuzu fired a blast of flames at Naruto, and the blonde jumped over it. He saw Deidara flying nearby, and with a quick use of a chakra tread, he attached himself to the dragon and pulled, phasing through all the explosions Deidara fired at him before kicking the blonde Akatsuki member off his dragon and ramming a Chidori into it, the lightning disabling the explosive chakra inside. "My art!" exclaimed Deidara. "Perhaps riding on a bomb isn't the best idea? Just something to think about in the pure world. You jerk, I'm going to kill you with my ultimate art," Naruto said, raising an eyebrow. "You know, being dedicated to your craft is one thing, but perhaps you should avoid suicide techniques unless you can resurrect yourself afterwards." "Oh shit!" exclaimed Sasori. "You're going to kill us all, you moron. Stop talking. Now you'll see my art as the only true art." Naruto stared at him for a moment before speaking. "No, not at all." He raised his hand to the sky, and Aim's naturally rainy clouds darkened even more before lighting up with lightning, just as Deidara was about to unleash his C0. Naruto shouted. Sage Style. Storm. Kirin. The lightning dragon appeared from the sky and struck Deidara before he could explode, nullifying the explosive chakra before causing an explosion of its own. When the jutsu ended, Deidara was reduced to a scorched crater. I suppose you could say he left with a bang. Really? From within the seal, Kurama said. Shut up, Furball, it was hilarious. You're fighting an organization composed exclusively of S-rank missing nin. Do you really think now is the time to be making jokes? What's the point of being overpowered if I can't have fun? Meanwhile, the rest of the Akatsuki were watching the blonde argue with the Kyuubi about the crater created by his own attack. That kid is insane, said Kisame. Yeah, Sasori agreed. Naruto turned to the rest of them after finishing his argument and said, Are you not going to attack? I think I'll take you up on that, Kisame said as he spit a massive wave of water at Naruto, flooding the area completely. Naruto jumped over it and stood in the water. Just so you know, Yagura attempted this and it failed. How so? Kisame said, smiling. Like this, Naruto smirked as he sent a large amount of lightning chakra into the water, but the chakra never reached Kisame, instead being devoured by the sharks inside. Wow, that's a cool trick. I'm glad you like it. Kisame swung Samahata but Naruto ducked under it and moved to punch. Kisame sidestepped and brought the sword into an overhead slash. Naruto let it pass through him and kicked Kisame in the face. The fishman didn't stagger but instead threw a punch at Naruto while he was in midair. He flinched through the blow and grabbed Kisame's arm before twisting it. Kisame let out a small grunt of pain as he freed himself and jumped away when an army of puppets cast a shadow over them, over 100 of them, all led by the puppet of the third cage. They all began to rain weapons on the two, causing Kisame to grumble and dive underwater, while Naruto simply phased through the attacks and moved through hand seals, shouting as soon as the attack stopped. Inferno Style. Majestic Destroyer Flame, by Sage Art. The wave of flames flew at the puppets but was blocked by the iron sand shield. They all came towards Naruto and he began to dance in between them, dodging when he could and phasing when he couldn't. He unleashed several powerful blows that shattered quite a few puppets and forced Sasori to pull the rest back. Puppetry is a really stupid jutsu in my opinion. You leave yourself completely exposed in order to send dolls at your opponent. Of course, you wouldn't understand because this is my art. Oh great, another artist. You're not going to commit suicide like he did, are you? He was a fool. This is true art, and it is eternal. Naruto shook his head and began another jutsu, but Sasori brought forward the iron sand to protect himself, which was a mistake. Sage Art. Thunderstream Storm Style. Because the iron sand was highly conductive of electricity, the jutsu flew through the shield and struck the puppets behind it, reducing many to ashes. I'm not sure, I'm not a master artist like you, but it doesn't seem eternal to me, unless you count ashes as art. Several spikes of iron sand were shot at Naruto, but he simply dodged them and dashed towards Sasori, who had brought his puppets in front of him to protect himself. Naruto simply passed through both the attacks and the puppets themselves before landing a hit on Sasori, sending him flying back. Naruto had already yelled before the redhead even hit the ground. Sage Art. Raging Hurricane Wind Style. A massive tornado formed in front of Naruto, and it was so powerful that it drew the water they were standing on around it and caused the clouds to congregate around it. Now that's just bullshit, Kisame said after jumping out of the water to avoid being dragged along. The tornado ripped all of Sasori's puppets apart before it was stopped on its path, the Preta path having absorbed the jutsu to prevent it from destroying even more of Aim than their battle had already done. Before anyone could react, Naruto dashed towards Sasori with a mini-tailed beast bomb in hand, landed it directly where the puppet man's chakra core was, and it launched him high into the air before exploding and vaporizing him. Suddenly, a large cloud of smoke appeared, accompanied by the three-headed dog but also a large drill-beaked bird. Naruto frowned as the animal path jumped over the bird and flew over the battlefield as the dog rushed him once more. "It's about time I got rid of you," Naruto grumbled as he was swallowed by his own portal and vanished, before anyone could relax their guards. Above. Naruto fell from the sky with the now headless animal path, scanning the battlefield and seeing the members of the Akatsuki watching him warily. Kakuzu was on guard, his 4 remaining hearts ready to attack. Kisame was holding his sword in a defensive stance while Itachi had his Mangekyo active and was in an uncharacteristic serious stance, showing no trace of arrogance, and Konan was using her paper wings to fly over the remaining paths of pain. He scanned them carefully, looking for opportunities, and noticed that the heart he had stabbed was Kakuzu's Earth Affinity 1, depriving him of his most powerful defensive technique. He smirked. "Well, mister, I fought the Shodai Hokage. Let us see if you live up to your reputation." Kakuzu immediately blocked, but Naruto used both his super strength technique and the strength boost from Sage Mode, and the blow shattered both of Kakuzu's arms, and before he could recover, Naruto was on him again. He barely avoided one of the blonde's punches and unleashed jutsu from all of his remaining masks, but they all passed through Naruto and he kept the pressure on Kakuzu until a swarm of paper bombs flew at them and detonated, forcing Naruto to jump back while Kakuzu was covered in paper to shield him. Naruto yelled as he made a few hand seals. Water Style. Crushing Wave, by Sage Art. While the Nakara path attempted to move for the animal path, the Preta path got in the way and absorbed the technique, which Naruto noticed and said, "I don't believe so." He charged towards the Nakara path with a Chidori in hand, ready to pierce it. The Preta path moved to absorb it, but it didn't absorb the punch, which was sent flying towards the Nakara path, knocking them both away. Both Kakuzu and Itachi sent a wave of flames at Naruto, and he took advantage of the situation, throwing the body of the animal path in its path and letting it burn before countering with his own jutsu. Sage Art. Stone Dragon in Earth Style. The dragon flew at Kakuzu, and the senjutsu boost prevented him from shooting it down, forcing him to dodge by jumping. However, just as he reached the apex of his jump, Naruto flew towards him with another Chidori that pierced his Wind Affinity heart. They both fell to the ground, and Kakuzu jumped away while shooting a jet of highly pressurized water at Naruto, which was a bad idea because the blonde simply used the water as a conduit for his next jutsu. Sage Art. Thunderclap Storm Style. The purple bolt of lightning struck Kakuzu's water and destroyed his Water Affinity heart before he could cancel the jutsu. Seeing himself with only the fire and lightning hearts remaining, Kakuzu tried to back away while Kazame fired a Water Shark Bomb at Naruto. Naruto jumped past the attack and charged towards Kakuzu, who fired jutsu from both of his remaining hearts in an attempt to slow the blonde down, but it failed and Naruto charged at him point blank before he could say anything. Hashirama showed you mercy. You will not receive any from me. 2 water spears flew from behind Kakuzu and pierced his 2 remaining masks before Naruto spat a white-hot wave of fire that completely incinerated Kakuzu, leaving only ashes, smirked, and turned to the remaining Akatsuki members before he said, "Who will die next? What the fuck are you?" Kisame yelled. "I'm what happens when you take the world's prophesied savior and give him every reason not to do that." Kisame swung Samahata at Naruto, who merely let it pass through him before punching Kisame in the gut and then kicking him away. He then dashed towards Itachi and punched him in the face. Itachi growled and summoned his Susanoo before saying anything. "You're going to die here." He swung the Totuska blade at Naruto, who used Kamui to dodge and get inside Itachi's Susanoo. Itachi blocked the punch and dismissed the Susanoo before firing a point-blank Amaterasu at Naruto, which passed through and Naruto chuckled. "I'll give it to you, Uchiha, the Mangekyo is ridiculously powerful. There isn't much anyone can do against you when you can just choose which attacks hit you." Naruto grinned as a wave of force drew him towards the diva path and the human path prepared to rip out his soul. He knew Nagato didn't care about the Akatsuki members as anything more than a means to an end, but to think it took killing almost the entire organization for him to decide to kill Naruto. Naruto had just passed through the human path and was about to attack the diva path when the Asura path shot a laser at him, catching him off guard and forcing him to block, while the diva path pointed his hands at him and shouted, "Shinra Tensei." This time, Naruto was prepared and let the wave of force pass through him as he dashed towards the diva path, only to be intercepted by Kisame, who created a massive bubble of water around Naruto. The shark man fused with Samahata and grinned. "I know you, son of a bitch. Do you understand now?" A voice said behind Kisame as Naruto vanished from inside the bubble and reappeared behind him, giving him only enough time to turn before Naruto shoved his hand into his chest. Kisame coughed up blood but kept his grin despite what Naruto said. "Tell me, tailed beast without a tail, how much chakra you can handle." Naruto began to channel Kurama's chakra into Kisame, and he smirked as his injuries healed and his reserves replenished. However, the smirk vanished when Naruto increased the amount of chakra and began to overload Kisame. He attempted to flee, but two clones appeared and held him in place as the amount of chakra in his body continued to increase far beyond his normal limits. He felt his body burn before his heart exploded from an overabundance of chakra, and he slumped over, clearly dead. Naruto threw him off before turning to Itachi and saying, "I'll say it again. You are Sasuke's kill. Leave." The chakra bubble collapsed without Kisame, and both Naruto and Itachi jumped away. The Uchiha, clearly wary of engaging the blonde, Naruto sighed and said, "Look, Itachi, I have no reason to hurt Konoha any longer. The one you thought was Madara is dead. The only thing left for you is to die at the hands of Sasuke so he can avenge your clan. We have no reason to fight any longer. Like you said, you were no threat to it, but you set the Kyuubi upon it? Look, I just wanted to leave, but they wouldn't let me, and the situation became complicated when Namikaze entered the picture. It was the only way I could think of to get away. And what about all those people who died? Is Itachi, clan killer, Uchiha really complaining to me about killing innocent people? I'm pretty sure the toddlers had nothing to do with the coup. How can I be certain you will not attack Konoha? I don't care about Konoha. There's nothing there I could possibly want, and you know as well as I do that if I wanted to, I could kill you right now. I'm only doing this for Sasuke." Itachi locked his gaze on Naruto for a moment before saying, "Will you look after Sasuke for me?" "Of course, we're not related, but we're brothers." After a while, Kurama said. Itachi nodded and dashed off. "Are you sure that's a good idea?" "Itachi is not a threat to us, and aside from speaking the truth, Sasuke is my friend, and I am not depriving him of his life's goal. I just hope this doesn't come back to bite us." Naruto said this to Pain and Konan, the last of the Akatsuki. "You lost, it's over." "What are you doing?" Konan inquired. "Because you posed a threat to my plans and I required the Rinnegan. All we wanted to do was bring peace." "I know, and to be honest, your plan is not a bad one, just short-sighted. No matter how powerful you are, try to rule by terror and people will eventually rise up against you. In the end, you would have either relented or had to wipe out everyone to ensure permanent peace. And how would you have reacted? Build a home, a place where the lost can be found, a place where you two and Yahiko can be children instead of having to become soldiers to survive. Who exactly are you? I'm just another lost soul trying to regain control of my life." Naruto remained silent for a moment before speaking. "In another time, in another place, there will be a home. I will build it. I will make it a place where the pain of war is unknown. A place where love and happiness are all that everyone knows. A place where those 3 children and their dog Chibi can walk the streets with smiles on their faces and love in their hearts, I promise you. They all nodded, and Naruto smiled sadly before saying anything. We'll meet again there, but for now, this is goodbye. Konan didn't feel anything. She simply closed her eyes and shed a final tear as she remembered her 2 closest friends. She smiled, genuinely believing the blonde that things would be better, that she would see them again. The Diva Path looked at Naruto after Konan and the other paths had fallen and said, "You didn't have to do that, we're your adversaries, why? I understand you better than you imagine because I understand your pain. I let go of everything for my own peace, and I regret not valuing what I had until I lost it." "Oh, I see. Thank you," Naruto said with a shake of his head. "Let Yahiko rest now. I'm coming to help you join them, and I hope to see you again soon." The Diva Path nodded once more before lying down next to Konan and closing its eyes. It never opened them again. When Naruto ascended the tower again, it was not with the cocky grin he wore the first time, but with solemn determination. He genuinely regretted the fate of the AIM orphans, and he still believed they were good people, desperate and misguided as they were. He was lost in thought as he walked to where he had previously felt Nagato's position was, but he was jolted awake when he felt another presence near Nagato. He didn't recognize it, but he knew who it was. When he entered the room and saw Zetsu finish removing the Rinnegan from the helpless Nagato, the plant man scowled and said, "You ruined everything. The Akatsuki is finished, and we're out of pawns. Hand over the Rinnegan, Zetsu, your mother isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Just so you know. I do, and no Otsutsuki will be permitted to enter this world. It is mine and mine alone. You idiot boy, the Otsutsuki are gods, and mother is their princess. You are nothing in comparison to them. Perhaps not yet, but I will be, and the Gedo Mazo is the first step toward my ascension. You want to usurp mother, but I'm not going to let you. I won't say it again, Zetsu. The Akatsuki is dead, Obito is dead, Madara's plan failed and he will die, you lost. No, I've been planning this for centuries. Did you think I didn't have backup plans?" Naruto walked up to Nagato and the redhead said. Zetsu slammed his hand on the ground, and a wall of wood separated the room in 2. Naruto used Kamui to pass through it, but Zetsu had already left, taking the Rinnegan with him. Was it all a lie? Did our goal never exist? I'm sorry, Nagato. He manipulated you and everyone else. Was all the pain we went through for nothing, my friends? No, you were a family, your bonds were genuine, and your friends loved you as much as you loved them. I'm tired of it all the pain, all the misery, all of it. I know, you can rest now. I promise you that the peace you fought for will be yours. Could you please do me one last favor and bury me alongside Konan and Yahiko? I will, you can rest together, and I hope you introduce me to Yahiko when the time comes. I'm sure he'd like to meet you, Nagato said before succumbing to death. Naruto looked at him for a moment before shaking his head and moving to fulfill the redhead's final wish, burying the 3 in a cliff overlooking AIM before teleporting away. The following day. When Naruto returned, he went straight to his room, too many thoughts racing through his mind. He only came out the next day to gather everyone so he could speak to them. Are you okay? You never told us where you went, and when you returned, you isolated yourself, Karen inquired. I'm fine. I just needed some alone time to get my mind back in the game. Where have you gone, Naruto-kun? Orochimaru inquired. AIM. What did you want in AIM? Sasuke inquired, but Orochimaru responded with surprise. Are they the Akatsuki? Zetsu escaped. Did you see Itachi? demanded Sasuke. We fought, and I let him flee. He is yours to kill, not mine. Naruto looked at Orochimaru, who suddenly said. Sasuke looked thoughtful for a moment before nodding in gratitude. How did you annihilate them? They were all S-rank ninja. I was aware of their flaws, and I had Kamui, so they couldn't do much against me. Remind me never to betray you, Orochimaru said, resigned and fearful. Contrary to popular belief, I did not join forces with you solely for the sake of convenience. I joined forces with you because I know what you're capable of and because I respect you. Is that correct? You're a scientist before you're a ninja. You value knowledge above all else, and I admire that. I see. I'm glad you see things my way. Now that the easy route for the Rinnegan is closed, we'll have to go with Plan B. What about Plan B? Karen inquired. We'll create our own. Would you like to make a Rinnegan? Orochimaru inquired. Even for you, that's excessive. You say that, but I know just how to do it. How? Well, first and foremost, I must complete the pair. At Konoha. Kakashi sat in his apartment, bottles of sake everywhere. He had been drowning himself in it since they returned from Kiri, trying to numb the pain, the regret, the everything. When Naruto told him Obito was alive, he was both happy and nervous. On the one hand, his best friend was alive, but on the other, where had he been all these years, or worse, did he know about Rin? What would he have to say? When they met in Kiri, Obito's words cut deep and he didn't have a chance to talk to him then. He promised himself he would do it after the battle, which unfortunately never happened. His Sharingan made sure he never forgot the look on Obito's face when he died. You failed him again, his mind whispered, you failed them all, he remembered Naruto saying to him. He slept very little after they returned, not because he wasn't tired, but because every time he fell asleep, the nightmares returned, the memories wouldn't leave him alone, and he remembered it being the same when Minato-sensei died. That triggered an even more painful train of thought. He really wanted to despise Naruto, but every time he thought about it, he remembered how he abandoned the blonde when he was a baby, and how Naruto had thrown it all in his face. When he heard a noise in his living room, his training kicked in and he immediately went on guard. He silently moved towards the noise when he saw who made it. Naruto was standing in the middle of the room, one of his eyes a very familiar Sharingan. Naruto? I came to talk to you. You assassinated Obito. I did, and it's one of the reasons I came here. You assaulted Konoha. I fled Konoha. Namikaze was the one who forced me to release the Kyuubi. I was perfectly content to simply flee without killing anyone. Do you even realize how many people you killed? No, and to be honest, I don't care. You're a beast. We are all, and the fact that you kill for your government while I kill for my goals doesn't make the killing any less justified. So, did you come to kill me as well? Not necessarily. I came here to make a transaction. I don't want anything you have. Not even the body of Obito? Kakashi paused, looked warily at the blonde, and said. What exactly do you mean? I still have Obito's body, and I know you want to bury him with Rin. And you're just going to hand it over to me? I'd like something in exchange. Kakashi was about to respond when he paused, then moved his hand to his covered eye and said. You're after Obito's other eye. Naruto said with a nod. If you give it to me, you can bury your friend. No one needs to know you helped me. Just say I knocked you out and took it. I won't tell. He gave it to me, and you expect me to just hand it over? He was also responsible for the original Kyuubi attack and your sensei's death. No, you're lying. You already know I'm not. What if I say no? I'm leaving here with that eye. Either you get his body or you die. Kakashi locked his gaze on Naruto for a moment before sighed and said, Was I to blame? No, the real Madara twisted his mind, the same Madara who implanted the Sanbi in Rin and forced you to kill her so Obito could awaken his Mangekyo. It was all part of his plan. It was because he needed a pawn, and Obito fell into his lap. But Madara was killed. He survived Hashirama's battle, he is now dead, but he has plans to resurrect himself, or rather, he had them before I destroyed the Akatsuki. How come you're telling me this? Honestly? I'm not one to be ruled by my hatred. If I can get what I want without resorting to violence, I will. I hate you, but letting that dictate what I do will simply give other people control over my life, and that is not something I tolerate. Can I see? Can I see him? Naruto nodded, and a vortex appeared in front of him, containing the body of one Obito Uchiha. Naruto took a step back and gestured to it. Kakashi kneeled over his once body, his face filled with pain and regret. He looked so peaceful, with no sign of any injuries other than those caused by the rockslide all those years ago. He's now with Rin. They're in a better place. I don't want them somewhere better. I want them here with me. I know. Why can't I just be happy? Why does everyone I care about die? That's just our world. It's a cruel place, and all we can do is fight for our own happiness. Kakashi stood there silently looking over Obito's body for a few more moments before saying, Take it, just take it, and please allow me to mourn my friend in peace. Naruto nodded, and Kakashi removed his headband, paused for a moment before removing the eye with a pained grunt, and handed it to Naruto, who took it and vanished. Kakashi stood over his best friend's body, one of his eyes missing and the eye socket bleeding, and the other crying and sobbing. Several minutes later. Naruto didn't know why he was doing it. He knew it was stupid and that he should have just left as soon as he got the eye, but he felt compelled to do it, to confront this problem and understand how and why he felt the way he did. He sneaked through Konoha towards a very familiar apartment in the ninja district after leaving Kakashi's apartment. He knew that after he released the Kyuubi, patrols would increase, but he had to admit they did a good job patrolling the village. If it hadn't been for his sensory ability, he would have been caught already. He knew he could just teleport there, but he felt the need to move there normally, if only to mentally prepare himself for it. As he moved through the village, he saw the effects of his actions on it. Most buildings had already been reconstructed, but he could see the grim expressions and fake smiles on those who lost much in the destruction. A part of him expected to feel regret, shame, or even a smidgen of empathy for them, but he didn't. He arrived at his destination, sighed before passing through the door, and purposefully made noise as he walked, as if expecting a female voice to say something. Is anyone there? He didn't respond, instead passing through a wall and sitting on the couch, looking towards the door to the bedroom where the person he needed to speak to emerged, holding a kunai and being a mess. He looked her in the eyes and saw recognition before pain, regret, and a glimmer of hope filled them. Is that you, Naruto? Kushina, Naruto said solemnly. He noticed a flash of pain in her expression before she said anything. Is that you? My mind has been playing tricks on me, and I don't think I can handle another one, she expressed concern. I'm as genuine as you are. What brings you here? She inquired, hesitantly. Honestly? I don't know, I felt I needed to talk to you properly but I'm not sure what, Naruto sighed. Can I? She asked, taking 2 steps towards him. He said with a sigh. Sure. Have you been living in my old apartment since you returned? I have. I wanted to get to know you, Kushina said, her voice full of longing. I imagine you didn't find anything particularly interesting, Naruto said dryly. There were many books, she observed. I suppose I've always liked to escape reality and escape into fiction, plus I needed something to keep me sane here, or at least somewhat sane, Naruto replied with a chuckle. I'm Naruto. Tell me something, Naruto interrupted. When Kushina did not respond, he said. How was your life in Uzushiogakure? I loved it. The buildings were colorful, and the people were cheerful. I remember watching the moon's reflection in the sea at night, going to the harbor and watching the mainland in the distance, running through the streets at night without fear, Kushina reflected. It had to have been incredible. It was. Didn't it hurt when you lost it all? She asked, noticing a sympathetic tone in his voice. It did, she lowered her head, lost in thought. You know, Konoha made sure to erase all records of the ally they failed, despite still wearing the Uzumaki swirl in their jackets, but after I left, I studied about it. Well, what did you learn? Kushina inquired, her voice full of curiosity and hope. Their culture mostly. I already knew the basic facts, but I felt the need to know more, especially their family-focused beliefs. Mess with one Uzumaki and you mess with them all, the book said. I would have liked to learn about them personally, but they were wiped out, and out of the two Uzumaki I met, one only had the same level of understanding as me, and I'm pretty sure the other didn't even know he was an Uzumaki, he said detachedly. You would have liked it, they were a very united people, Kushina said softly. Why? I understand why Namikaze did it, even if I disagree with him, but I don't understand why you would, he asked abruptly. I asked him to reseal the Kyuubi in me because I didn't want to burden you with it, but he said he wanted us to meet, that a father could never fulfill the role of a mother. Naruto raised an eyebrow at her and stated. So he thought having a mother for 5 minutes was better than having a father for my entire life? Naruto sighed. Of course he did. I keep telling myself that the two of you aren't evil, just stupid. I'm sorry. I should have stopped him, I should have done something, she said, her eyes filled with genuine regret. You could have lived, you know? Naruto chuckled dryly. What exactly do you mean? You may have been too weak to take the entire Kyuubi back, but if he had sealed at least some of them inside you, you would have survived. Hell, if he had used a different seal, both of you could have lived. The only reason both of you died is because he used the Reaper Death Seal to split them in half and seal them inside both me and him. Well, that and the claw through the chest, but that's neither here nor there. However, you'd still be the Jinchuriki, she pointed out. Believe it or not, I like being a Jinchuriki. The Kyuubi has been my companion for so long that I can't imagine myself without them. It was the principle of the thing, the fact that you two were willing to make me into what's essentially a living weapon that had no choice but to fight and kill for the sake of a village that hated me. Kushina saw the bitterness and betrayal in his eyes, but she couldn't help but to also see self-loathing in them. And what was I supposed to do? Let all those people perish? She exclaimed. What part of what I did leads you to believe I care about collateral damage? Naruto asked, raising an eyebrow. Kushina was about to respond when Naruto interrupted her. It wouldn't have mattered anyway, you two could have lived and been the most loving, caring parents to ever live, and I would still have chosen this path, he said, his voice suddenly colder and his expression solemn. However, why? Namikaze hasn't told you, has he? He noticed her confusion in her expression. You told me what? Naruto sighed and explained. I'm a reincarnator. I'm Naruto, but before I was Naruto, I was someone else. I was fully conscious from the moment I opened my eyes, and I chose this path before I was even a day old. How is that even possible? Kushina was perplexed. I don't know, all I know is that I died, then I lived, and I was Naruto, Naruto shrugged. That's... She didn't know what to make of it. I know. Do you want to know why what you did hurt me so much? I was an adult in a child's body. I didn't need you. It hurt me not because I was alone, but because I identified with it, he explained, and Kushina could see that the self-loathing had become much clearer. You identified with it? She looked at him, puzzled, and saw him smile sadly before he said anything. Before my death, I had a family, a father who would criticize me but also protect me, a mother who would nag me but also comfort me, a sister who would annoy me to hell and back but was the first to be by my side when I was sad, he said, raw emotion leaking into his voice. He took a deep breath to calm himself before continuing. After I committed suicide, You what? She exclaimed, shocked and concerned. He frowned at her for a brief moment before continuing. It wasn't until I did it that I truly felt the loss. I realized how much an idiot I was, how much I gave up. When I was born, I felt as if the only thing I gained for losing my family was taken away from me. And when you used me as a human sacrifice, I felt as if I wasn't good enough to be loved like a son. I love you, Naruto, and there was nothing I wanted more than to be your mother. She tried to hug him, but her hands just passed through him. Just as she was about to cry, thinking this was another trick played on her by her guilty mind, he put his hand into her arm and gently pushed her away, the happiness quickly replaced by the pain of rejection. Don't do that, he mumbled tiredly, and when she looked at him with regret and longing, he sighed and averted his gaze. I know, but mothers don't do what you did. I felt like you were doing the same thing I did, throwing away something special for erroneous beliefs. I hate myself for giving up the most important thing I had, and I saw you doing the same. Naruto said with a shake of his head. Before I had a father who would never dream of hurting me, and now I have one who told me to my face that Konoha is more important to him than me. How am I supposed to feel about that? He threw his hands in the air, and Kushina could see the hurt look in his eyes and the broken tone in his voice. Your father. He loves you, but he is Hokage, and he has to protect Konoha above all else. Kushina tried to defend her husband, but the words rang hollow even to her. In her most lonely moments, she found herself blaming Minato and Konoha for everything, and the more she tried to ignore the thoughts, the more they returned. You see the disconnect. Back where I came from, this kind of fanaticism was heavily frowned upon, and here it's praised. Here child soldiers and government-sanctioned killers are seen as heroes, whereas back there it would be seen as monstrous and a crime against all humanity, Naruto said. Is that why you're doing this? To change the system? Kushina inquired. Change the system? I just want to reclaim what I lost, to become strong enough that I will be in control and that no one will dare to take what is mine again, Naruto grumbled. What you're doing, Naruto, is wrong. You think I don't know this? I do. I just don't care. Your husband certainly didn't care when he made me a slave to his village. Hell, even now he wants to bring me back and make me a happy and loyal attack dog for Konoha. I refuse to let anyone but myself dictate what I do. Kushina, I'm no one's slave, he said, and Kushina could tell by the steel in his voice. You're not a slave, Naruto. We just want you to be happy here, she begged. And if I wasn't happy here, I'd have to sacrifice my happiness because, you know, Konoha came first, right? Naruto snarled. It's not like that, Kushina said, shaking her head. Really? Because that is not what your actions indicate. He looked at her, skeptical. I just want us to be a family. You say you want to reclaim what you lost, why can't I? She yelled at him, tears welling up in the corners of her eyes. You can, but every time I look at you, I see a cruel mockery of my mother's memory. You want us to be a family, but how can I trust you not to be the same as everyone else? Is my happiness only acceptable if it fits in their vision for me? He spat venomously. Certainly not. I would never betray you. The funny thing is, I can feel your emotions, I know you're telling the truth, but I just can't bring myself to trust you, he chuckled bitterly. Naruto, please, you're my son, I love you. She begged as she moved closer to him, only to be stopped by a look that promised he'd leave if she got too close. I know, but that option was taken away from me when I wasn't good enough for you, Naruto sighed. So, what did you want me to do? You should have tried to stop him, you had enough energy to hold the Kyuubi down, but you didn't even try to persuade him not to do this, a single fucking kiss and you just let him do whatever he wanted. Naruto yelled angrily.
I trusted him, but I was mistaken, as I now see.
That makes you better than him, not that it matters much, Naruto stated categorically. Please, Naruto, give me another chance, she pleaded, and the raw emotion in her voice made him chuckle. It wasn't a funny chuckle, but one filled with an emotion she couldn't put her finger on. I'm genuinely considering it, and that scares me. When I first decided on this path, I planned to become so powerful that no one could stop me, and then carve a bloody path to my goal, killing anyone who got in my way. And look at me now, I befriended Sasuke when it would have been much smarter to just kill him and remove the threat, and when I first interacted with Karen, it was because we were both Uzumaki and I thought it. Is that a bad thing? Maybe you were wrong, maybe you're just thinking about it, Kushina wondered. I'm long past the point of no return. I've come too far to turn back now, Naruto stated firmly. Is that why you came here, just to tell me this? Kushina sighed. No, I came here to meet you because despite everything, a part of me still sees you as my mother, and despite my better judgment, I still wanted to make this emotional connection, if only to honor the memory of my real mother, not the one who abandoned me, Naruto said, his voice conflicted. I didn't. Naruto, I would never abandon you. She said, and he noticed the hope in her tone, which put a small smile on his face, but he sighed and said just as she noticed it. There's a voice in the back of my head that tells me my dream will never come true, that this is all for naught and I'll fail in the end, that everything would have been so much better, so much less painful, if that claw had simply torn through you too and crushed me, a quick death, but I refuse to bow to it just as I refuse to bow to you. I'm so sorry, it wasn't supposed to be this way, she mumbled tiredly. No, it wasn't, and for what it's worth, I'm sorry, but I can't give up now, so if you want to stop me, you'll have to kill me, Naruto said, his resolve shining in his eyes. I can't do that. She exclaimed angrily at the mere suggestion. I know, he said, but before he could finish, he noticed a familiar signature running towards them, so he sighed and said. It appears that our time has come to an end. It was better than I expected to meet you, Kushina. She ran towards him, her face glistening with longing. Wait. No. Don't leave. She begged helplessly. Goodbye. When Minato burst through the door, having sensed a presence other than Kushina in the apartment, he only saw her on her knees, hugging herself and sobbing uncontrollably. The following day, Naruto had just emerged from the operating room, his other eye replaced by the other Sharingan. He was initially concerned that sustaining 2 permanent Sharingans would be difficult, but Kurama offered to supply the chakra required for them, much to Naruto's delight. He had enough chakra to use them, but it would mean that his reserves would only replenish when he closed his eyes. Another issue was blindness, but Naruto used the same solution as Obito. He didn't implant Zetsu cells on himself because he didn't want the third child of Kagaya influencing him in any way, but he used his naturally large life force as an Uzumaki and his healing factor as a Jinchuriki to prevent blindness by regenerating the damage dealt with use, another thing he was thankful he had Kurama to help with. He then summoned the group, still finding it amusing that he assumed some sort of leadership role in it. Karen he could understand, Sasuke somewhat, but the fact that Orochimaru of the Sannin was so interested in his knowledge that he listened to him always made him laugh. He looked at each of them after they had gathered and said, "What I'm about to tell you is something only one other being alive knows. Don't ask me how I know this, but know that once you learn this, the only way out is death. Neither I nor the other being can risk anyone finding out the full story, or it could spell the end of all mankind. Naruto turned to face Orochimaru, who said, I'm far too curious to stop now, Naruto-kun, especially since legend has it that you're going to teach us how to make the eyes of the Sage of Six Paths. There's way more than a little bit of truth in those legends, you can be sure, Naruto smirked. He then turned to Karen, who immediately responded, I'm with you until the end, and I admit I'm curious as well. He nodded and turned to face Sasuke, who was looking thoughtful. Can the Rinnegan assist me in killing Itachi? He inquired. Naruto sighed and explained. Look, I'm not going to lie to you, the Rinnegan is extremely powerful, more than enough to kill Itachi, and while I have every intention of providing you with a pair, I believe you shouldn't get it until you kill Itachi. Why? Sasuke inquired, his eyes narrowed. Because I have no idea how it will interact with your Mangekyo Sharingan. I couldn't evolve mine even if I wanted to, but you can, and since you don't have the same tools I do to counteract the blindness, I recommend you get it before you think about the Rinnegan. Sasuke paused for a moment before nodding. Seeing this, Naruto smiled and said, Alright, now pay close attention because this is all very important. He noticed the group nodding and noticed Orochimaru shivering in his seat. Over 1,000 years ago, a man was born. His name was Hagoromo Otsutsuki, though you may know him better as the Sage of Six Paths, and he created Ninshu, the ninja creed, and spread it across the world alongside something humans didn't have back then, chakra. Is that where chakra originated? Orochimaru inquired. Hagoromo hoped to use chakra to connect all humans, make us understand each other on a deeper level, and bring peace to the world, so he gathered his followers and spread his teachings. It appears that it didn't work out, Karen joked. No, it didn't, Naruto replied. He had 2 sons, the eldest Indra and the youngest Asura. Indra was a prodigy of unparalleled talent, whereas Asura had just as much potential as his brother but had to work hard to achieve it. The 2 brothers developed a rivalry, and from that competition, Indra discovered hand seals, and as a result, he created ninjutsu. What does that have to do with anything? Sasuke grumbled. More than you think, Naruto replied. Eventually, Hagoromo grew old and had to pass his mantle to one of his sons. Indra, being the eldest and most skilled, was expected to receive it, but Hagoromo chose Asura. You see, Hagoromo wanted peace, and both siblings had differing ideas about peace. Indra believed in peace through power, bringing the entire world under submission to prevent conflict, whereas Asura believed in peace through understanding and love, ensuring humanity talked to each other. And what happened? Orochimaru inquired. Indra was enraged by his father's decision, and fought Asura for the right to lead. The battle was inconclusive, and Indra left, vowing to eventually defeat his brother and bring peace his way. Both brothers eventually founded their own clans, their bloodlines being what they inherited from their father. Naruto turned to face Sasuke and said, Indra founded the Uchiha clan after inheriting the Sage's eyes. All Uchiha are his descendants, and the Sharingan is his legacy. He founded my clan? Sasuke was taken aback by the news. He did. Asura had inherited his father's strong body and founded the Senju clan, of which the Uzumaki is a branch. Wait, we're related to the Sage of the Six Paths. Karen exclaimed. Yes, in more than one way for me. Are you going to tell us you're the Sage's son? Orochimaru joked. It's not that simple, but yes, my soul is Asura Otsutsuki, son of the Sage. Oh, Orochimaru exclaimed, stunned. The brothers' descendants continued their fight, but that isn't important. What is important is that the brothers reincarnated into their descendants across the generations, the most recent of which were Madara and Hashirama. Wait, who is Indra if you're Asura? Did he die during the massacre? Sasuke inquired. Your name is Indra, Sasuke. No way. Naruto waited for Sasuke to recover from the revelation, knowing that he was shattering the Uchiha's worldview. Once Sasuke had recovered, he asked, "How does this relate to reawakening the Rinnegan?" The Rinnegan can be obtained in a variety of ways. Transplant is out of the question due to Zetsu's disappearance with the only pair I know of, but another method is being pursued directly by the sage. Isn't he dead? Karen inquired. He's an Otsutsuki, and death is more of a suggestion than a reality. He can revive himself? Orochimaru's eyes twinkled with interest. I'm pretty sure he only died because he wanted to in the first place. I see. Anyway, Naruto explained. Hagoromo isn't going to give us Rinnegan anytime soon, so we'll have to settle for the last option. And what is it? Orochimaru inquired. We repair the sage's chakra, Naruto explained. How? Karen inquired. By combining both of your chakra, Orochimaru replied, his eyes gleaming with delight at the discovery and the experiments he planned to conduct with it. Exactly, Naruto said, smirking. It's not easy, but Madara took 50 years to manifest his Rinnegan. We'll have to speed up this process. Naruto approached Orochimaru and said, We'll supply the chakra, but I'm trusting you, Kabuto, and Karen to figure out how to accelerate it. Don't inject yourself or anyone else who isn't expendable with it. The Rinnegan can't be handled by just about anyone, and we need to make sure the fusion is perfect before we even consider awakening anyone's Rinnegan. I'm a scientist, Naruto-kun, and I know how to be cautious. Good, and don't worry, I'm confident your new body will be able to handle it so you can have a pair as well. How is that going? The sheer adaptability and resilience of the Zetsu cells make working with them so much easier and the results so much better. Naruto said with a nod. In the meantime, I'll be assisting Sasuke and training my own Mangekyo. They were all about to stand up when Naruto spoke again. We need to talk, Sasuke. How about that? Itachi's real story. That piqued Sasuke's interest, and he narrowed his eyes and said, What is the truth? Are you going to tell him? Orochimaru inquired. Naruto paused for a moment before speaking to the Uchiha. He has a right to know. What the hell are you talking about? Demanded Sasuke. Why the massacre actually occurred. While Orochimaru and Karen left the room, Sasuke sat down again. Once they were gone, Naruto turned to Sasuke and said, Do you recall the Uchiha I assassinated in Kiri? You said he faked his death during the Third Shinobi War, Sasuke nodded. He did, but what I didn't tell you is that he was involved in the massacre, and in fact, he assisted Itachi in carrying it out. What do you mean? Sasuke asked, frowning. He was responsible for the Kyuubi attack all those years ago, and because the Kyuubi had Sharingan in their eyes, the Uchiha clan was pushed to the outskirts of the village and shunned by the rest of Konoha. I remember hearing something similar to that when I was younger, but what does that have to do with the massacre? He approached the clan claiming to be Madara, he fed their fears, and convinced your father to stage a coup, taking over the title of Hokage by force. The Hokage learned about it and used your brother as a double agent. Peace talks were underway when a man named Danzo Shimura gave your brother an ultimatum. Destroy the Uchiha clan or there would be civil war. He forced Itachi to do it? Snarled Sasuke. Your brother was always a pacifist. To avoid a war, he and Madara killed the entire Uchiha clan to prevent the coup, but there was another reason he did it. Why? To protect you, he knew that if war broke out, you wouldn't survive, so he struck a deal with Danzo, your safety in exchange for his assistance, and he made you believe he did it for power because he wanted you to become strong, strong enough to kill him and avenge the clan, strong enough to be safe. Sasuke was crying at this point, so he asked Naruto, "What should I do now? My life's goal is a lie. You must decide how you feel about Itachi. If you ask me, he betrayed both you and your family, and for that, he deserves to die, but in the end, the choice is yours. If you decide you don't hate him, I won't judge you. Either way, you must kill him, whether to honor his sacrifice or to avenge his betrayal is up to you. Why are you telling me this now, rather than earlier? Honestly, I was afraid you'd do something stupid and end up getting killed. I know I had no right to keep this from you, and I apologize. Promise me there will be no more secrets. I promise you that I will not withhold anything about you or your clan from you." Before saying anything, Sasuke took a few deep breaths to calm himself down. I need some time to think about it. Take as much time as you need, and hey, Naruto said with a smile. You're my friend. If you need anything, even just a friendly chat, I'm here. Yeah. Thanks.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.